I know we're on a little bit of a shortened time frame. Appreciate all you guys being here. We'll just get rolling. Obviously, the anticipated increase, we still are looking at that amount. Nothing's changed. Don't anticipate any of that being different. Breakage is a little bit like a roll of the dice. We have multiple. It seems like every time we hire somebody, somebody else has resigned recently. So we'll see where that ends up. Property insurance, while I have not got the final amount, it's going to be an increase of about $196,500, which is incredible to me. Adding a column, obviously there's a variance there. Step-in column's about $226,000, give or take. Health insurance, I'll give you guys an update. I will not be getting any Christmas cards from Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I will tell you that they are also not willing to move off of a 39% increase. So we have gone to market, and as soon as we have an idea, we'll kind of give you an idea, and we can figure out what those costs might be.
No, that's still working with KASB, correct?
They help facilitate things,
Okay.
but we actually use a group called the McInnes Group.
Oh, that's right.
And,
Okay.
and they're the ones, they know a whole lot more about insurance than, I'll be honest, that I ever want in my brain.
Have they talked with them? I mean, is McKenna's group?
So when you say we've
Yes.
talked to them, that's who you mean? Is
Yes.
they've talked? Okay, just
Correct.
checking.
Correct. And again, anybody that would like to meet with them, I'm more than happy to let you guys do that. But so we have talked about the potential of adding $30 per month. That would take us to $490 for the contribution from the district towards health insurance, with whomever that might be. That total is $144,720. Okay, let's get into the thick of things.
I
Go
have a
ahead.
question.
Sure.
So on the new money, you had given us the state increase of the little over $1 million. What does the LOB look like for this year?
That is a good question, and I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, it's 33. But as far as any dollars or anything, I don't
Like
know.
increase in,
Yeah, I can take a look. I will get that to you. Anything else?
well, not for today.
Okay.
But just a heads up. So we took a deep dive into the budget, and it's taken us this long to take the deep dive into
Sure.
the budget. But we had some questions, and I didn't want to throw them at you this time
Sure.
because that's like I want you guys to be prepared to,
Sure.
to ask questions.
Absolutely.
So when we meet again on the 5th, can we talk budget just a little bit, just so that we can kind of be clear on what the
Absolutely.
numbers are saying and we have all the relevant information?
I would think that's a perfect idea.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you send us the questions, that way we can make sure we've got an answer and we don't tell you on the 5th, hey, well, we're going to have to find out. I don't know that that would be the case, but not knowing what the questions are.
Okay.
Are we
Yeah.
confirming the 5th too, so I can just
Yep.
make sure
I
we put it
think
on the calendar?
we would, that would be, unless everything gets solved tonight. Tuition incentive. Think that you guys have potentially a proposal?
We do.
Okay.
So currently teachers can submit 4 hours at $125 an hour. We kind of crunched some numbers and looked at the historical data that you had sent us. And our proposal is to increase that to 6 hours at $150 a credit hour. With the numbers that you gave us this year, we still wouldn't have hit that 15,000. And kind of looking at all of the numbers and going through some of the historical numbers, even if we were to prorate that, like we would leave the 15,000. So even if we would have to prorate that, a lot of the times
Sure.
the prorate is still more than what they would have gotten at keeping it at 4 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So increase it to 6 at 150 instead of 125.
I think that's a pretty good proposal. I'm going to star that in case we have other things we need to parley about, we'll,
Okay.
we'll do that and we'll come back to it, but I think it's a good one. Plan time. I know that on that one, that's really just an administrative thing. It needs to be resolved that way.
Well, we respectfully disagree. We've had, I mean, it seems like turnover is getting more common than less common. And by having it in the negotiated agreement, it is stated there for all to see, and not kind of relying on someone to make sure to tell somebody that this is what needs to happen. We're not looking for anything super specific. We would just like to add it to the agreement. So we're looking at itinerant or traveling teachers would be assigned a home school. That building administrator would be charged with making sure or verifying that plan time and travel time is used appropriately, basically at however many schools that person visits. And that plan time is not part, or travel time is not part of plan time. And then that way you just have our real purpose is to make one person in charge. And by saying having a home building, we're not specifying, a building. We're just saying that person is assigned a home building, and that building administrator, whoever it may be, whether it's an assistant administrator or the head administrator, they'll be in charge of coordinating that person's schedule. That way, because I think what we have an issue with right now is that the teacher is feeling like they're the ones who are kind of the go-between between the administrators, and that is not their job.
To quote a movie, it's what we have right here is a failure to communicate. And that is legitimately what is happening. There's a gap in the communication, and it's falling on people that it shouldn't fall onto.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that one.
Okay.
Supplemental addition. I think that we were in agreement on Vikings United supplemental.
Correct. And then I had emailed you guys and had brought it up at the last meeting, the forensics.
Yeah, I think that's just, what we have done, what the practice has been in the past is that's adjusted based upon numbers, and I think that's fine. I think the numbers that you sent probably warrant that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's an easy one. Yeah.
Okay. So adding the assistant.
Right, because it's based upon numbers.
Right. Yes.
And if the numbers are the same, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
It just wasn't on the sheet, so I was just
Right.
clarifying.
So we can tentatively agree on that one, right?
Correct.
Hey, see, we're making progress.
Number 5, you put on extra duty pay. I think between the conversations that we've had here at the table and then conversations we've kind of had amongst ourselves and amongst some building teachers, that we can probably take that off. We would, however, do think that this is another communication issue. And while you guys might not have denied people pay, I think we're having a building administrator issue again, where they don't know that it's okay that these teachers put in. And so when a teacher goes and asks them, they just say, I don't know, and then that's where it stops.
Yes, okay, we can fix that. And we've already struck hours of work and the prep time. For right now, I'm going to skip discretionary and come back to that if that's okay. Retirement benefits, the stance right now with the board would be that that is currently board policy, and there is no interest at all in moving that to the negotiated agreement. So that would be a no.
Not even we can think about it now?
I think we have thought about it, and the reality is it's already a board policy and it's there. And there's no interest in having it be something different, at least at this time, maybe in the future.
Just out of my own personal curiosity, is the board looking at adjusting that policy or modifying it so to bring it up to current dates?
We did discuss changing verbiage so it's more clear and making it user-friendly.
Okay.
But
Reader
not
friendly.
changing the years or the percent.
No,
we
we haven't
haven't-
discussed any of that.
We haven't discussed that.
We just thought that the current policy was very convoluted and confusing, so we want to sit down and just make it more reader friendly. We haven't talked about changing anything else
Numbers
on
or
it.
anything.
None of the numbers, years. We didn't get into any of that.
Okay.
But I think that the board has heard your concern,
Yes.
and I think they're aware of it, and recognize your point.
Okay.
Okay, column addition and salary are usually the two big ones. We don't always have a column addition. I sent you all
Yes.
some information, hopefully after my diatribe at the last meeting to try and explain how you could read it was helpful. Any thoughts, any suggestions, any proposals?
So right away, we were not excited with 2, 3, 4, or 4.5. I mean, just to cut to the chase, our proposal is our original proposal from last year. We did talk about this extensively. We met separately before I left, and this was our big discussion during that meeting, and kind of looking at the overall salary schedule, looking at what each one of those percentages and what each one of those different columns would do to the salary schedule. And in our opinion, our original proposal with the amount increases that we proposed would be the most healthy option for the salary schedule. Not only healthy because it provides the most money, but also healthy in the fact that it keeps that salary schedule so that it functions and it really makes sure that the teachers who move into it feel like, you know, I have moved into this, and this is an accomplishment and not there are a number of the other ones where the increase between 45 and 60 is less than the increase between 30 and 45. And to make sure that your salary schedule is functioning the way that it should, based on the rest of our salary schedule, they all go up. So the increase between 15 and 30 is a little bit less than the increase between 30 and 45. You don't want your increase between 45 and 60 to then be less if you see all of the other ones going up.
Being more.
Yes.
And with a finite amount of money, my concern would be this. It would benefit, I'll use the SEA proposal, it would benefit the folks that will be moving to that column. But it's also benefiting those 53 at the expense of the other 270.
There's also those 53, a lot have been in there for a long time.
I would say that there's a lot of times where those 53 were, the other ones were benefited at the expense of the 53, or however many that were in there at the time. I mean, you have a number, I don't know the numbers, but you have a number of teachers in there who have only gotten the additional money per cell for quite a few years.
And $1,000.
Well, no, not every year.
After they've been there 2 years, they get an additional $1,000. That's part of the agreement.
Divided by.
But that only came a couple years ago.
Well, since I've been here, it's been there.
Yeah.
Is is,
Right.
would be my reference. So
Right.
for the last 4 years.
Right.
There's been an additional $1,000.
But not in $1,000 every year, so it's a one-time thousand and then,
No, it's $1,000.
but
every
it's not
year.
accumulate, I guess.
Right,
yes.
it doesn't, $63,000 doesn't turn into 6 years later $69,000.
Correct,
It's whatever that amount is, there's an additional $1,000
Correct.
for having been there.
yes.
Okay, so your proposal would be to go with your original proposal,
Correct.
and based upon dollars and cents, I'm assuming that that means you're suggesting a $500 per cell amount?
Well, I mean, we would love the $1,000 per cell amount.
Well, but you're using the money all on the column so that we don't have it. I mean, it's still a matter of we have X number of dollars, it's just how we move it. I
Correct.
just want to make sure that,
This is also the other reason, this is also one of the reasons why we would like to know a little bit more about the numbers in the budget and the LOB.
okay. So if you were making a proposal, not that I'm trying to put in words in your mouth, what you would prefer would be, or what I'm hearing is the SEA proposal, and then you would much prefer $1,000 per cell.
Well, I mean, I'd really prefer the $1,200 per cell, but I mean, just saying.
Well,
If you can even go like 15, I mean, we're not gonna say no to more money.
I was fairly certain. So do you have a proposal that we could go back and discuss, and at the same time, we'll talk about that, the tuition thing?
And we still need to talk about discretionary.
Yeah,
Right.
because we had
right.
that proposal too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can we be clear about something? This is just for the extra column that we're doing at this time, correct? This is the MOU that we're proposing, or this is the total package? Because right now I feel like all we're talking about is the MOU proposal.
Well, I will be honest with you, I would like to know what your thoughts are on the whole thing. Because one is
They're gonna affect each
interconnected
other.
with the other. Because I'll be honest with you, if we're not going to look at those in conjunction, then we're probably not going to come to any kind of an agreement, because that's, again, it goes with the same thing. If you want to say, hey, $1,500 per cell and the SEA proposal, that's fine. We can calculate how much it's going to cost, and we can have a pretty good idea of whether or not that's feasible. If you go 1,500, whatever that amount is, but the column by itself isn't necessarily, the two are going to be connected.
Okay.
Because they're all part of
I guess
the
I guess the reason why we were hesitant to pick a number and pick like a total package option was because we have also in the past discussed insurance separately, and we've kind of been like, okay, well, let's do this, and then we won't add the 30, or we'll add 15 instead of 30. And so in like they were all movable parts,
Mhm.
and the way that you have stated this
Right, well-
makes it kind of look like they're
Well,
unmovable
and I still
parts.
think that that's part of what we can do. Insurance is still one of those things that's, it's on there for $144,000.
Correct.
But if the agreement is we don't want to do that, then we can not do that. There's $144,000. But for a starting point, just to see where we're at, to have a ballpark, and I'll be honest, what it sounded like was the SEA proposal for the column and either 1,000 or 1,200 per cell.
Right. That would,
That sound reasonable, or?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, let's do.
Wait,
this.
can we-
Sure.
talk discretionary before you leave, just because that way you,
Sure.
okay. So on number 8, it says, is there a specific number of days the association is looking at? Our proposal is to get rid of discretionary and then just have 12 days of leave. And then at the end of the year, teachers will have the option of selling back up to 10, which is currently what they can sell back.
Okay.
So the sell back will not change.
Now, the sellback is also dependent upon 30 days, a 30-day balance.
Correct, and that would not
That
change
wouldn't
either.
change. Gotcha. Wanted to make sure
Yep.
that.
Nope, none of that would change.
So the proposal, just to make sure that I'm right, their proposal would be that it would all go to essentially paid time off.
Yes,
And it would still be the 12 days. Your proposal would be that 10 days, up to 10 days, could be sold back in the same manner that we've done currently.
correct.
Okay.
Everything else that's left over, like if you can't sell back, then, or you don't want to, then it rolls over into sick.
Okay.
So the sick would not go away, but people would need to use their 12 days of leave before that their backup sick would kick in. And then that point, it would only be sick and not a discretionary. Just like it is now.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's go. Give us 10 minutes,
Okay. We will,
5:05, and we'll
Yeah.
come back and visit with you. Let's start with the tuition incentive.
okay.
I think we can have a tentative agreement on that. I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
I like that. Let's come back to the discretionary later, here in just a minute. Let's talk about potentially a counter, and I want to explain why too. We want to make certain that we're taking care of everybody. Everybody in all of the columns, not just one column. So our proposal, counter proposal, as the case may be, would be the 3% for the column increase and $1,000 on the sell. Now, with breakage, which we have no idea what that's going to be, and really we probably should only count it if we know the person is not going to be, that position is not going to be filled. But we think we can make that work. So that would be our counter. That would put a range from 1311 to 1521. Probably averages out to about a 3.62% increase. How'd you know? She teaches math. She knows stuff.
This year.
Okay. So, for us, the big problem with using the 3% is that if you look at the columns and the amount that you have between each column, if we even just take, if we take the 0 and you start at MA. So between MA and MA 15 in Z, it's $2,000. Between 15 and 30 in Z, it's $2,550. Between, it's $2,550, okay? If we go, and then between 30 and 45, it's 4,000. But if we go with 3, you're saying that those guys with EDSs or PhDs or MA plus 60s, that's only worth an extra $1,500. Even though if you move over from 30 to 45, it's an extra 4,000.
That's what the district feels like we can afford at this point, and to also make certain that all the folks in the negotiated agreement are taken care of. And if you look, that 1521 on a 3% would move it to 65,271. Obviously, the $1,000 thing would make a difference with some of that. But if you look, the average for all the Shawnee County's schools, the bigger schools, 501, Shawnee Heights, Auburn, Washburn, for the same step in their MA60 is 65,312. So you're talking $50.
So, but is it the same step or is it their last step?
It is that.
Because
It's the equivalent step, because if they go 26 steps, I can't compare that because we don't have that.
correct, but if you were in those districts and they had 26 steps, those teachers that are in our current column there stuck on Z wouldn't have been stuck nearly as long because they would be still moving down a step every year if you had 26 steps. So while yes, it might be higher than the average at 15 years or the 15th step, we can't really, based on those numbers, know and look at it and go that, you know, our teachers who have 25 years of service in currently in that step, what they would be getting in those other districts.
But you could say that with each one of our columns. Because
Correct.
that's where it goes.
Correct.
What I can compare it with is apples to apples. What you're wanting to compare it is apples to oranges, because I don't
Plus
have
apples.
a 25. But it's that.
I'm
that's-
just saying that while those
Right.
numbers are there is a more of a nuance to that
Well-
number than what you initially look at.
Well, but that's the number. At the end of the day, the average for Shawnee County for the 15th step, MA60 is 65,312, and what we would be proposing would be 65,271. An increase of 1521 for that step. And again, we're also talking about 325 people, not just 53. So that allows us to the potential to have a $1,000 increase per cell.
Yes, but wouldn't you want those other 222 people to feel like they can be successful in our district and getting over there? Those who get their masters, those who stay in the district long term, like they have somewhere to go. Like they can go ahead and keep earning those PD points and making sure that they are moving over and being able to get that. Like
Well,
that is
let
that
me
is
say
something
this.
that you should
The
be able
folks
to want
on
to work
the
toward and stay.
MA45Z or potentially MA60Z aren't the people that are leaving us. They're retiring, but they're not the ones that are quitting at the same level as all the other folks. That's just the truth.
So then why are the other ones quitting?
Because of lots of reasons, I would guess. I don't have everybody's, but if we can put $1,000, that's more attractive for all of them versus having to do something like 500. To me, it seems like there's an inequity that we're going to take care of 50 people and make them happy at the expense of 270.
But we're not taking care of just 50 people. We're taking care of the 50 people this year, plus anybody else who would then move
This is
over
our
there.
proposal. If you guys would like to go talk about it, you can go talk about it. If you don't, if you just want to reject
So,
it now, that's
I
fine.
don't feel like we can adequately talk about a counter proposal without having all of the numbers, which is why we
is fair.
wanted to
That's
talk
fair.
about
Sure.
the budget and we asked about the LOB,
Absolutely.
because I feel like there's information out there that we don't have the full picture. And in order for us to be completely and totally informed, we would like to have the complete full picture on those.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Okay.
Sure.
Can I speak real quick?
Yes.
I'm gonna move the microphone, just real quick. Also, just because I know that there are a few of us at this table that have been negotiating for a really long time on this side of the table, and this is no offense to anybody on the other side of the table, but we've been doing this longer than y'all have for this side of the table. When we are talking about the MA plus 60 column, it is to right a wrong and to right an inequity that has been happening for, this will be my 12th year in the district. And it is to do that inequity because in previous negotiations, we have been told repeatedly that we need to do more for the new
Let's
teachers.
not talk
I
about-
understand,
Let's not.
and last time you told me that I needed to wait. I'm not going to wait this time.
Okay. I think at this point.
It is
unless
to
there's
right a
something that
wrong.
You guys have,
Because we needed to do more for our more professional staff who have been in the district for a long time. This is why we are having concerns about the specific column which we MOU'd last year. We will wait for the extra information. I am very sorry if I have upset you, but it needed to be
That
said.
upset me. Here's the thing, if you need that information, we'll get you the information, but otherwise, I don't think there's a reason for us to continue. Discretion would be the only other thing, and I'd like to wait until we have some more talk on the dollars.
Okay, I have a couple more things.
Sure.
So we went back and looked up, the professional, the terms and conditions in professional service, the, Negotiations Act. And retirement is a mandatory item that has to be negotiated, according to the Kansas Negotiations Act.
Okay, I may not be following.
Okay, so you guys told us that you weren't interested in talking retirement benefits. However, according to the terms and conditions,
let me-
the professional service
Your
negotiation act.
proposal was to move something from a board policy to the negotiated agreement. We're not interested in doing that.
So then I would just say off the cuff right now that next week you can expect a proposal from us about adding language into our contract that deals with retirement.
Absolutely, and we can negotiate that if that's what you'd like.
Okay. There's that. 2, we had asked about ESSER. And you guys had given us information about the ESSER, and you had said ESSER 2 was already spent, which I think the due date was that, so that hopefully yes, was all got spent. But then the ESSER 3 was not all completely spent, and based on the numbers that you guys had given us, there was about $709,000 left in ESSER 3. We were hoping that in order to help benefit everybody, that we could negotiate the words just completely popped out of my head. Thank you. Retention stipend with part of that $709,000. That would then go toward our teachers and maybe help alleviate some of the board's questions about making sure that, or concerns about making sure that everyone got something this year when we are focused on extending out our pay table.
My only stipulation on that is that ESSER $3 have to, if there's a change to their current ESSER plan, it has to then go back to KSDE to get approved before they can make any changes on it.
Correct.
So just,
But-
I just wanted
yeah.
to make you aware.
But I
of
was
that.
just going off of what I was given, and it just said there was that much money. So if there is a plan, we would love to hear what that plan is, but the way that the information was presented to us, it was just like, this is what we have left.
They spent the 562 and there's 709 there. That hasn't been of the 1.2.
I'm assuming, and I don't know because I'm not a part of the ESER team, I'm assuming that it's probably
And that was,
reserved for something, but I don't know without actually looking.
well, as of May 30th, there wasn't a plan.
So we don't need to have that conversation tonight. I was just hoping that
I think
if
we
that's
can-
already been earmarked, we would love to hear about that when we talk more money on the 5th.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope. You don't
Okay.
wanna talk about discretionary?
No, we didn't want to.
Yeah, just wait. July 5th, 4:30,
Yes,
right here.
yes,
Same bat time, same bat channel.
exactly. Okay, that's all.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, folks.